Hello, everybody! Happy Pride Month! Woo! Okay, welcome back to another speed paint. Unfortunately, we are not drawing your OCs in this one, but my submissions are still open, and if you think you've already submitted, don't be afraid to submit again. It's no real harm to me, and I really want to make sure that I actually draw all the submitted characters this time around, and don't give up halfway through like I did with the last time I tried to draw your guys' characters. Okay, back to the more pressing matter at hand. July is coming. Really fast. This video took far too long to make, and it is entirely my fault, sorry guys. And it doesn't help with the amount I've been promising animatics that probably maybe will happen? Anyway, something is coming. Something daunting. Something dangerous. ARTFIGHT. For those who don't know, ARTFIGHT is an annual art event for the entire month of July where artists get together and draw each other's characters. Everyone picks a team, and currently at the time of writing the script, I think the teams have just been revealed. Fossils and crystals. I haven't decided which one I want to go with yet. Both colors work really well for my color scheme, being one's pink, one's yellow. So I haven't really picked yet, but I did ask my Discord to pick which team I should be on for me. And so, shameless plug, if you get this soon enough, I think the poll should still be up and you can definitely fight to have me on your team. Anyway, this is technically my first year doing ARTFIGHT, so sorry this isn't a tutorial. That little badge I put in my ARTFIGHT description is a lie. I did not participate last year. But there are a bunch of awesome videos that are tutorials that I'll link in the description if you're also a new person like me and really need some help getting started. It's never too late to join, and even if it's halfway through July, it's still a great time, and I really hope that you will join me in my journey through ARTFIGHT. Plus, it's also just a really good excuse to show off my OCs that I've been wanting to get onto this channel so I can post about them more. So, without further ado, follow me on my journey to prepare for the fight of my life. ARTFIGHT. Alright, so to begin with, I am going to follow a normal trend for such art YouTubers and made a internet-friendly list of how I'm going to prepare. So, this is how it's gonna go. First, I'm gonna revise all of my lore stuff. This is pretty much just, writing up, like, down what all of this stuff happens to my characters. I haven't actually ever really put pen to paper about them too much, excluding maybe the one book I've written, but it's so old and outdated and not with the stories anymore. So I really need to just revise all the character lore and such. So that is the first step that I probably won't go too much detail into because this is a more art related journey. So yeah, the first step is lore. The second step would be making character sheets. This means giving them a full body, adding little things that I think are important to get designed correct, and putting their name and general things about them on the pages. This part is what you'll be seeing in the background, and right now I've started on my character sheet for my YouTube Sona. The last bit that I didn't record footage for because I was doing these on call with my friends is making the profile images. These are the ones that people will see when they look at my character profiles first, so I really want to make them at least eye-catching enough or nice looking enough so that people will see them and click on them. And I think it's been working so far for how I've already set up my profiles. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's start with my character sheet, because this one is going to be the one I'll explain how I tackle turnarounds. So, for turnaround sheets, I usually sometimes do a front-facing, side profile, 3-point shot, and then a back profile. These ones are for more in-depth character designs, like the ones I've made for comics or animations I think I'll be making. I think I can put up one on screen of an old turnaround I did for my Spider Sona when I was thinking about turning it into a comic. Well, I still am, but I think it's more of a side project compared to what I want to do with comic stuff. But anyway, yeah, that's what a turnaround is. But for this one, since I wanted it to like look cute and all, because I'm going to be sharing it with people so that they can draw my characters, I only did a front and back view because I figure people don't really need to see a side profile too much. And it takes up a lot of space that I need for making the details and putting, you know, color blots so people can color pick. So there's that. How I really wanted to put the character sheets together is the full body so that they could see the entire character. Then I put a close-up of their eyes so that their eye color and the shading I did would be pretty visible so that they could choose to whether or not to make super detailed eyes or just the colors. I also added some character expressions to try to give the feeling of what the character is like. Sometimes I just put ones that I think look good and that don't pertain to the character, so take those with a grain of salt, but I just really wanted to show how the character would look emoting and actually being a character. Plus, I added a couple of things that I think are important to keep consistent, like the logo on my character's shirt, and also the Apple hairpin. I did similar things for my Project Adrenaline characters, where I put a little object that's usually really important to them, and I also put some visual thing to represent what their superpower was. Okay, that was a lot. And honestly, you probably could get a better explanation from somebody else. But let's talk about my character. As you all know, my character name is MaroonPie, but they actually got this name because it's based off of all of the other characters who are in this fictional game I've made up called Sweet Sin 7. It's a dating sim visual novel where all of the character interactions are completely new for each player because, in fact, all of the characters are AI. I say AI in air quotes because this is a DDLC type thing, if you've really gotten into the lore type of stuff of what's going on with that. Each of the characters have human souls. My character is essentially my human soul put into MaroonPie. And the general gist of it is that all of her friends got swooped up and put into this game for some arbitrary reason. I haven't really thought out why they're in the game, just the fact that they are. And Maroon is the only one who knows they're in the game. Everybody else's memories didn't really follow through to the process, and unfortunately, Maroon is the sole person to remember what happened. So when you play the game and you choose her route, she'll be super standoffish to you and she won't want to interact. In fact, I had planned to make a visual novel eventually where if you try to interact with them... My god, my lights just flickered. Is that just me? Like, I've been having that happen a lot. I feel like I'm being haunted, guys. Do ghost investigation in my room? Okay, I'm getting sidetracked. Where was I? Oh yeah. I wanted to have the interactions like get cut off short, or some weird glitch effects, stuff like that. Just general like creepypasta type like game glitch stuff that I think would be really interesting to go into. But the general idea is that if you try to pick their route, she's gonna shut you down and she will not go for you. It's in her code to like you, but because she knows where she is and what's going on, she can overwrite that and not like you as much. So yeah, that is the general gist of Maroon's actual backstory. This is something I've had for I think a while. I just never really got into it. Eventually I do want to make a video on the characters of each of the other Sweet Sins, because I really like their designs, and they're all based off of different, you know, sweets. That's why it's called Sweet Sin 7. And there's 7 of them. So I definitely want to make like a lineup or a bunch of drawings for a video, and I can explain all the lore and get into the nitty gritty. But back to the speed paint, there's something specific I did with my character sheets that I didn't do with any of the other ones, is the fact it's got multiple versions. I wanted to give people the choice of whether or not to draw the jacket. It's kind of like gets in the way of the character design often, and honestly sometimes it looks better without it. Bust shots look great with the jacket, but without the jacket looks better in general, so I wanted people to be able to see what my character looks like without the jacket. And I also wanted to have one with wings and without wings, so that people could choose whether or not to add them or not, because sometimes I forget to. But yeah, this is the only one I did that for, because all of the other ones don't have like jackets that are removable or will ever be really removed, or anything that has just stuff underneath anything that people would need to see for the design. But yeah, that being said, this is the full both turnarounds for my character, which you can go check out the ARTFIGHT profile in the link in the description. And, you know, go comment or whatever, follow, I don't know, bookmark it if you want. This is not forced, man. I'm just putting these out here. Okay, let's start with the basic premise of the show. Project Adrenaline is about 4 teens, who I have dubbed the Teen Terrors, who get superpowers from a government experiment and have to work with the fact that their lives have just been turned upside down and figure out a way to live with the fact that they now have superpowers. They're going to learn about responsibility and what it means to be a hero and all of that jazzy stuff that I get inspiration from Spider-Man from, because it's not me unless Spider-Man is involved. I'm sorry guys, I have hyperfixation. But the general premise is that they're all normal people, generally. But each of them get chosen by the SACU, or the Scientific Anomaly Cover-Up, get injected with something called adrenaline, which basically sends your body into a consistent and constant fight or flight, and activates a, what my character, Dr. Karzi, the crazy little scientist who was in charge of the project, deems the adrenaline gene. It's very similar to mutants, and I think there was a plot in Young Justice. This might be stolen, guys. Wait! I think there's a plot in Young Justice where characters were getting superpowers from a fight or flight thing. Let me know if I'm right about that. I haven't watched Young Justice in so long. Anyway, it's kind of similar to the mutants so in the Marvel comic stuff, right? But yeah, this gene gets activated, and it's usually pertained to their personality or, like, circumstance. But each of my characters have specific powers. Now, originally, this series was called Elementals, and it was very loosely based off of Percy Jackson, with how a lot of the gods have elemental powers. And each of the characters had one of the 4 elements, which is why there are 4 characters in the main story. Tyler still has his hydrokinesis water powers. Briley, who is now Z, or Zinger, has plant powers. Christina used to have fire powers, which have now turned into kinetic manipulation. And Winter, who is now Mason, used to have wind powers, which has now been turned into air manipulation, which is different, by the way. Mason uses it for flying and super speed. It's kind of like how Invincible moves around, like moving the atoms in the air. I won't get into specifics because this video will be so long, and it's already probably going to be very long. Anyway, Tyler. Let's talk about what happened to him. He used to be very much based off of Percy Jackson, and I really wanted to move away from that, so he got a total redesign. He's been through a lot of redesigns. I never really knew what to do with his hair, but I'm glad I've kind of gotten it down now. His story is actually more fleshed out than everybody else, obviously because he's kind of my main character, but also because the full book I wrote of the first general bit of the story is all from his perspective, and it's a book I named Tide, obviously because of his water powers, whatever. In the series, there were supposed to be 5 books. The first one would be about Tyler, it was called Tide. The second one was about Brylee, it was probably something plant-related. I don't remember, I have them on a wall somewhere. The third book would be Christina's perspective, and it was like Flame. And then the fourth book would be from Winter's perspective, and it has some wind-related name. And the fifth book would be called Shadow, and that would be about Tyler's dad. Ooh, I will keep ambiguous for the sake of spoilers. So I really wanted to give each of these characters their specific time to flesh them out, but the person I fleshed out the most is Tyler, so he is technically my main character. Anyway, I'm really happy with how he looks now. I think he feels less like a normal white boy with black hair and blue eyes with water powers, and his dad is Poseidon. No. His dad's important to the story, but he's not Poseidon. Or, like, some crazy superhero or anything like that. Guys, it's different. It's different. Anyway, here is basically how Tyler gets his powers. He starts out as a normal kid, right? Like everyone does. But he got wrapped up in what happened to his father because his dad went MIA on the job. Everyone said it was a car crash, but obviously he knows better. But one of these days, he's on a bus ride to his school, and the bus gets stopped, and he gets picked up by these weird, you know, really sketchy looking guys, Men in Black type stuff, and taken to the Zaku facility. Him and 3 other kids that he didn't really get to see for very long get taken into Dr. Karzi's office and made for a secret project, aka Project Adrenaline. With these experiments slash, you know, torture, Tyler eventually develops hydrokinesis. But he doesn't know that any of this happened because technically from his memory, those guys showed up on the bus and then he woke up in the nurse's office. He doesn't know what happened, he doesn't remember any of this, but it's not like gone forever. The memories are just locked away, so don't worry, all the angst stuff about being tortured and stuff will come back. But he doesn't remember anything that happened. And he woke up in the nurse's office, and the first thing he notices is that the nurse asks him why his eyes are blue. So yes, the adrenaline does change the body a bit. Unfortunately, I never got around to really interesting powers. I picked them based off their personality, so they don't have too many things that, like, mess with their bodies as much as I'd like. Like, you know, Beast, or Nightcrawler, or really any, like, non-conventionally human mutant in, Marvel X-Men stuff that's, like, didn't get to keep looking humanoid and has to deal with the fact that they kind of look like a monster now. Which I feel like is something I'd love to go into eventually, but none of them really have body-changing powers, which is unfortunate, and I feel like I've wasted that, but maybe I'll do it to one of them eventually or something. Anyway, he doesn't know what happened to him, but now he has these powers, his eyes are a different color, and he's got a gap in his memory. So now he's gonna figure out what the heck happened. And that's the basic start of this story. Him and, Z are good friends, and they eventually do meet Christina and Mason eventually. But I really want to flesh that out in a different video and or through the actual comic that I've been making for, what, how long has it been now? I wrote the book like 7 years ago. Oh my god. Oh my god. Anyway, this is his finished character sheet. And then we move on to Zinger. Zinger has probably had one of the more strange changes. He was really lame and boring and one-dimensional and lame and boring. When he started, his name used to be Briley, and he was roughly based off of one of my brother's friends. That's where his name came from. And he had a very, like, super sidekick character type, like, vibe to his story. A lot of the characters were very sidelined in the book I wrote, and I want to do them more justice eventually when I turn it into the webcomic. But Zinger, or I'm going to call him Z from now on, is a lot different than how Briley used to be. Briley was very much just a guy who played video games and was friends with Tyler. He was super one-dimensional and boring, and blonde. Guys, I don't hate blonde people, please! Hashtag cancelled already? Can't even do ARTFIGHT, god. Anyway, his role in book 2 would basically he would take over POV right at the end of book 1, and for reasons I won't explain because I want it to be a surprise, but he takes over POV from Tyler and carries it out throughout book 2, and then Christina will take it, so on and so forth. But it was really important to me that he has the last POV to really prepare people for getting attached to his character more and such. But he's cooler now, and awesome and cooler. He lives in a really big family, and his mom is on her own. Well, she has a girlfriend, but pretty much on her own right now. She's a doctor, and she has like 5 kids. Well, one of them isn't hers, it's her girlfriend's, but she watches them all the time because her girlfriend's also got a job. So Z's really been sidelined to being the other adult. So he doesn't really get to be a kid. He had to grow up super fast. But he's probably the most chilled, laid-back guy you'll ever meet. Which is probably why I'm going to have a lot of angst for him. His phytokinesis definitely makes it hard for him to, like, live. With all the other characters, there are, like, simple ways to just, like, deal with their powers, but for Z, I really wanted to focus on the fact that he just doesn't have control over the plants completely. Like, general being around plants just makes them grow. So when he's asleep, these vines have been showing up in his room, kind of suffocating him. They really want to just, like, show off the fact that he's being suffocated by these new power and the fact of all of this responsibility. And a new one just added on because now he's not just responsible for his siblings, but probably the fate of the world. So this guy has got a lot on his shoulders. He's also tall. I don't know if that's important. But generally, Z's pretty easygoing. He loves his family a lot. His dad lived when he was young to get the milk, but he kind of just, like, moved on. He didn't really want to dwell too much because he had more important issues, like being the new parent of the family. His mom's dating a really nice lady. Her name is Nala. I want to talk about her more one day, but generally Nala has already been like a second mom. They're pretty close. So he's always been a kind of adult. So how he got his powers is practically the same way Tyler did. On the bus, Men in Black show up, they get taken, and do the adrenaline experiences. Experiments. Tyler's mom and Z's mom are both friends, so that's how they really got to know each other. And Tyler spends a lot of time in Z's house, so Tyler's pretty, like, helpful when it comes to trying to deal with Z's siblings, so he's kind of just been like a second brother. He's not really sure who he is yet. He's always had to be the older brother, so he doesn't actually know what he wants or what he is. So that's gonna be fun to explore in story. And the fact that he's got superpowers now is not helping the fact that he's got all this responsibility. So yeah, he's kind of angsty, but he really is just pretty easygoing. I'm hoping to give him a bit more, like, comic relief type vibe and such. Okay, so that's Z. Oh, that was a lot of stuff for him. I talk about Z a lot. Despite Tyler being the main character, I love Z probably the most. Let's talk about Christina. She started out rough. like all the rest of the characters did, but specifically for her because she was, oh, if I can find any of the gotcha stuff I had of these guys, it was something, okay? But she was a blonde girl with her bangs covering one eye because it had a eye scar from her fire powers, and she was a love interest for Tyler, and her dad was mean. Yeah, that's it. That's all I wrote for about Christina when I was younger. Like, that's all she was. So I wanted to give her a lot more power in this story. Power isn't generally, like, more important. I was so, guys, internalized misogyny moment. Anyway, Christina, I actually don't have ways. Both Mason and Christina, well, I have a way for Mason, but I don't have a way Christina gets her powers, but I do have something specific for her that I think is really interesting, is that when she gets her powers, the Sakyu don't take her memories away because she's just like, yes, let me be a superhero, yes, this is everything she's wanted and more. So they totally thought they were just getting a free soldier. Joke's on them, she's a teenage girl, and she doesn't like getting told what to do, so yeah. I'm never talking again. I'm sorry, guys. I shouldn't have made this video. Yeah, whoa. Yeah, her powers changed from fire to kinetic energy. Mostly because I really like Gambit, but also because I didn't want them all to have elemental powers, which kind of feels like it didn't do pretty well with that, because Mason still technically has, like, wind powers. But her kinetic energy manifests as like a pink fire, similarly to how kinetic energy manifests as pink fire in Marvel Comics for like Gambit and oh my god, what's his name?
You've reached your limit on talking. Shut the f up.
I'm not googling it. Whatever, I'll put him on screen if I can find who I was thinking about. Anyway, I really wanted her to be like the punchy character who's like punch first, think second, kind of like Vi from Arcane, which is really reminiscent of her hair. I haven't seen any of Arcane, and she was not inspired by Vi. I just want to make that clear. Anyway, a bit about Christina. So Christina is your typical girl, normally. She grew up in an Asian household, so she's got a lot of issues with that, and she's pretty sarcastic and is normally pretty okay with calling people out on their bullshit. She loves deadpan humor and pretending that the jokes she made aren't jokes. She won't admit it, but she likes when people react funny to her jokes, no matter what, if it's like good or bad. She likes the attention. Despite the fact that she's probably kept to herself most of her life, she's felt that certain not belonging that any 16-year-old girl felt at some point in their life. Her home was quiet and loud at the same time. Parents didn't really pay attention or to where she was going. So she and Mason became friends real quick because they both felt that general not belonging, about 2 years prior to the plot. So Christina spent a lot of time at Mason's house because she didn't really want to be at home. But then she got the powers, and the fact that she kept her memories, I think, is really important for instigating plot, but also because she has, like, more agency in the story now. But she's super excited about these superpowers and immediately starts going vigilante mode, which gets on the news and definitely catches both Tyler's and Z's attention. But yeah, not much to say about Christina. I did add something on the character sheet. It's her mother's locket. It's gonna be really important to the story, but I won't get into it now because as much as I love talking about these guys, no spoilers. No spoilers! Except for the basic plot. Except for the basic plot. Okay. Last, but certainly not least, we have Mason. This guy changed the most. So, Mason used to be this character named Winter. They were gender fluid because I had a certain, like, fixation on, like, gender fluidness. I was really interested in it because I had been reading the Rick Riordan's. You'll notice how much of an influence he has on the story. Rick Riordan's Magnus Chase books, and I really liked Alex, who was gender fluid, and I wanted to put a gender fluid person in my book, but I just wasn't capable of writing that well, and I don't think I am still, without having it just be completely non-important to the plot. And I think it could work really well if Mason was still gender fluid, but I much prefer writing Mason to be trans, because it's both something I know about but don't really know about at the same time. It's hard to explain. I myself would classify myself as trans, generally because I'm non-binary, but my oldest brother is also trans, and I have a lot of general background with that, but not the same as like understanding completely all of the struggles, because fortunately for me, I live in a very nice house where my parents are very nice and supportive and awesome, and I love you, Mom and Dad, if you're watching this. Hi. Yeah, but Winter was a bit of a train wreck. They showed up twice in the book total, and I think they had 4 like dialogue in general. They weren't great, and they needed a change. But I like Mason much better because he's got more importance to the story. His dad also works for the SACU like Tyler's dad does, but Henry never gets to be a superhero because, well, that's not his job. He's mostly like security, but he is also the one that takes Tyler's dad down to Dr. Carsey's office. So he's pretty integral to the story. He's pretty high ranking as well, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, he went from wind powers because I think it made sense for the gender fluid because they like go with the flow, to being able to fly and stuff. Because I really wanted to show like the freedom bit, because generally as a character, Mason has been pretty caged his whole life with both how he feels and looks at himself and his own house. Because for some reason, there's this weird lady that's shown up in his house recently, and she like won't go away. It's not like she like does anything, and she's obviously his dad's not cheating on his mom or whatever, but she's just there watching all the time, and it's kind of freaking him out. And maybe it's because she's watching him or watching his dad. He can't really tell, but he tries to stay away from her as much as possible. He's pretty jumpy and skittish because he's been by himself most of his life. But he likes to go outside and be in nature, but like rather than like trees and forests and stuff, he likes like cut clean grass fields and stuff of parks and stuff. He likes bugs, if that's important. And because of his aerokinesis, he really likes flying through the air, so that was pretty freeing for him. So how he got his powers, I think, is probably one of the most devastating ways. His dad was always busy, not really around because he has the job with SACU. He didn't really know what the SACU was until he got his powers and the plot happens. But yeah, so Mason has definitely taken to being by himself. He found baseball, however. He really likes watching the teams and collecting stuff from big league stars and stuff. So he's been generally enjoying baseball for like, what, almost his whole life. Now he's in high school, so he finally gains the courage to join his school's baseball team. And he's not bad at the game. He's a pretty good pitch. His batting needs work because he's never held a bat before. And he misses a lot of catches, but I mean, for once he feels like he has something to be proud of. Plus, it's something he and his dad can talk about whenever they had the small chance. Suddenly, that small chance was becoming more and more of a big chance. He and his dad talked more frequently and for longer spans of time. It was really awesome for him, and he felt like he was finally like getting along. It didn't last very long though. His dad wanted something from him instead of wanting to be close to him. He didn't really have a choice but to like go through with it anyway, being Mason as a kid and his dad as his dad. But his dad told him that what he needed would make him into a better man. Mason would be lying if he said that wasn't enticing. And his dad wasn't completely wrong. His superpowers did make him a better person. It was just his dad had the wrong reasons for doing it. But Henry took Mason to the SACU personally, handed him over to Dr. Carsey, and then let the experiments happen. But Mason doesn't remember any of that happening. He remembers his dad asking him a favor, and then he just wakes up at home. He thinks maybe it was a dream. He's not sure. And I think that's really, really devastating. So, yeah. That is all of the characters from Project Adrenaline and all of their sheets done. Please, please, please go check out their profiles on ARTFIGHT if you would like to draw them, and I would be very, 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 very happy if you did. You can bookmark any of the characters you like. Plus, I am planning on doing revenges for as many of the drawings I get as possible. Plus, I already have a hit list planned too, so my July is going to be busy. I think I'm being a little bit too ambitious for this first art fight, but you know, what can you do? Anyway, these are all of them. I hope you enjoyed watching and also are getting ready for art fight as well. I'm really excited to participate this year. And, yeah, take care of yourself, drink some water, have something to eat, get a good amount of rest, and I'll catch you all in the next video. See you later.